Hey, welcome to a great day. I hope it's a good one for you. I think it's a good one for any of us because we're still here. Seriously, I hope you're having a great day. And if you got a moment, come on into my little world and let's share a thought or two. I came across a couple of quotes recently that reminded me of some very special things because I think really none of us wants to be seen as a selfish individual. And we live in a time where borders and drawing lines seems to be almost anathema, something that's foreign, something that's unacceptable, something that's intolerant. And yet, how do we live without certain kinds of boundaries? You know, Maya Angelou offered a quote that's thrown about every now and then. You need to give yourself the greatest gift. For the greatest gift you can give yourself is to forgive. She goes on to say, forgive everyone. And she's got a real point. But you know, in order to forgive something, there has to be a breach. There has to be a breaking of a rule. There has to be a trespass of some kind. But to forgive somebody, they have to have done a wrong. And how can they do a wrong if there are no boundaries, no borders? The fact is there are. We've all got them. We all recognize them. As I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about some of those boundaries and those borders, there were a couple of things came to mind. I'm reminded that Moses told the children of Israel that when they came into the land, he said, "You shall not remove your neighbor's landmark, which the men of old have set in your inheritance, which you will inherit in the land that the Lord your God is giving you to possess." In other words, you'll have your place, and don't try to infringe on somebody else's place. That's just the way it is. Don't move your neighbor's landmark. Don't try to cheat them out of their space. Well, that works well unless you're sitting at a football game on a bench where they only allow a certain amount of space for you to sit. There's always somebody that's pressing over into your space. But that's another story. But I think none of us wants to be seen as someone who trespasses on somebody else's borders, and yet we don't want to be seen as selfish either. We like to be known as people who are sharing, caring, open. And that's a great thing. You know, when you read about some of those Christians in the earliest days of the church, they seem to be open in so many ways, in sharing what they had in so many ways. But you know what? It was a matter of choice. They had their place, they had their things, and when they shared them, it was because they wanted to and they chose to. That's a good thing. Because when we have boundaries, we can learn how to deal with them. The other thing I was reminded in seeing was of the old poem by Robert Frost, The Mending Wall, wherein he talks about, like so many places in the country, especially in the northeastern part of the U.S., property boundaries are often seen by the rock walls. As the old farmers would find the rocks in the field, they would use them to build the walls around the pasture, around the fields, in other countries as well. But Robert Frost tells in his story of recognizing the breaks in the wall where maybe hunters had come through and knocked down rocks, where just the earth's movement had caused the rocks to fall out of place, and opening and breaches were found in the rock walls around the place. But on an appointed day, he and his neighbor came out to walk the line, and there to find the rocks and place them back in the wall. And he began to think, what am I trying to do by building this wall? Am I trying to keep something in or keep something out? It was a perplexity of mind as he went along. And a couple of times in the poem, as he expresses himself to his neighbor comes back. Good fences make good neighbors. There is a practical sense to that, isn't there? I think you recognize it, and I do too. We recognize there are some things that are open for sharing, but there are other things that I'd rather you ask permission. I'd rather be granting it to you, because there is something of a boundary here. We talk a little bit about personal space from time to time. You're invading my personal space. I wish you'd back up just a little bit. Well, sometimes we do that. And there are others that seem like they have no recognition of personal space. But good neighbors, good fences make good neighbors. I'll get it right. Good fences make good neighbors. Robert Frost's poem is well taken. The point, I think, is well taken. Moses tried to remind the people, boundaries and lines help us recognize our blessings, recognize what we have, and recognize also the opportunity to share. Just because a boundary or a fence is there doesn't mean that someone has to be kept out, that somebody has to be segregated or separated. It just means you have the opportunity to see where it is and know what to do with it. Take responsibility for it and even share it. Boundaries. I think we understand that. I think we use it all the time. Every time we purchase an item and take it into possession. Every time we let someone borrow it, use it, or use it for their service. We understand that there are boundaries. We understand that good fences do make good neighbors. Not because they keep somebody out or keep somebody in, but you just know that for which you are responsible, and you can share it with somebody else. Or you can protect it from those who would do it harm. Don't try to take somebody else's. Don't move the landmarks. Just keep the fences where they are and help others to know it's something that can be shared. You know, we are all very fortunate people, I think, no matter what our situation in life fully is. But as we calculate and as we recognize the things that are put at our disposal and within our hands, we have the opportunity to use them in the best ways possible. So, yes, if somebody does breach it, like Maya Angelou said, learn to forgive. It's a great gift to yourself as well as others. Like Robert Frost says, remember, good fence makes good neighbors. Like Moses said, don't move the landmarks. And just remember, it really all belongs to the Lord anyway. It's all His. Hey, it's a great day. Enjoy it. Check out the fences and keep them in place. And if somebody does knock down a hole and trespass, find the power to forgive them. You got it made. Hey, I hope you're having a great day, and I want to thank you for being with me and sharing this video with me today. I'll talk to you a little further down the road.